Why are some countries more successful than others? What makes states rise and fall? What does it take to drag a nation into the future? Often this is not by accident. Across history, I have picked 4 leaders who stand out for their zealous push for modernization. Charlemagne in medieval Europe, Peter the Great in Imperial Russia, Frederick II in rising Prussia, and Lee Kuan Yew in modern Singapore. They lived in different eras and used different tools, but all faced the same challenge: how to turn a fragile state into a durable power. In this video, we'll explore the playbook they shared, while also looking at the geopolitics that shaped their choices. By the end, you'll see the hidden patterns behind successful nation building and why these lessons still matter today. Modernization sounds abstract, but here's a simple way to think about it. It's the shift from traditional fragmented systems to a state that can mobilize people, money, and ideas at scale. It means predictable laws, reliable taxes, professional armies, and infrastructure that connects markets instead of isolating them. Why is that hard? Well, because modernization threatens powerful entrenched interests. It asks elites to give up privileges, it forces cultural change, and it costs resources. The thing is, modernization isn't optional. In geostrategic reality, it's survival. Nations can negotiate from a position of strength when their inner mechanics are efficient and up-to-date. Those that become comfortable or even decadent are absorbed into the sphere of influence of other more powerful countries. The 4 leaders highlighted in this video understood that and acted pragmatically. As a primer, here are already some key common themes which will come up repeatedly in this video. These are vision and relentless execution, centralization and state capacity, education and import of foreign ideas, and last but not least, Machiavellian ruthlessness and pragmatism. Keep them in mind as we take our journey through history. Chapter 1. Charlemagne and the Blueprint of Unity. Picture Western Europe after Rome, with fragmented lordships, patchwork laws, and literacy in retreat. Into this steps Charlemagne, king of the Franks in 1768 and crowned emperor in 1800. He faced a basic problem. You cannot govern a vast realm if your officials can't read, your priests can't agree on ritual, and your coins vary from town to town. So, Charlemagne built a state around shared language, faith, and law. He ordered clergy to learn proper Latin and standardized liturgy. He invited scholars to his court at Aachen and pushed cathedral and monastic schools to copy texts and teach the liberal arts. He improved administration and moved towards a standardized silver currency. None of this made peasants rich overnight, but it created a common operating system for Europe: educated clerics, legible documents, and officials who could execute orders across long distances. The geopolitics were clear. Charlemagne needed legitimacy to hold a diverse empire. Partnering with the papacy gave him that. The church gained a protector. Charlemagne gained a crown and the moral authority to enforce order. Religion worked as statecraft in those times. It helped knit together Franks, Saxons, Lombards, and others into something like a common political project. Charlemagne became the so-called father of Europe. The lesson is that when resources are thin, standardization becomes power. If your people read the same script, use the same coin, and accept the same courts, you can mobilize faster than your rivals. That had been the playbook already of the Roman Empire. Charlemagne understood and revived it. Peter the Great, Westernization at all costs. Fast forward 9 centuries to quasi-landlocked Russia. Vast land with harsh winters, few warm water ports, an elite suspicious of change. When Peter comes to power, he inherits a state that is big but brittle. He decides to break it and rebuild. Peter's first priority is military. He creates a standing army, remakes training, and builds Russia's first navy. War drives reform, and reform drives war. He fights the Ottomans for Azov. He takes on Sweden in the Great Northern War to get to the Baltic coast. He literally builds a new capital, St. Petersburg, on a marsh facing Europe and calls it his window to the West. Besides that, he also focuses on administration. He sidelines the old boyar nobility with the table of ranks, a ladder of civil and military service where merit can outrun birth. He centralizes revenue, replacing a messy household tax with a per-head poll tax that is easier to count and harder to dodge. His third focus is culture, not because he cares about fashion, but because symbols matter. He orders Western dress at court. He opens schools of navigation and mathematics. He launches Russia's first newspaper. He brings in foreign artisans to teach shipbuilding and gunnery. The geopolitics are obvious. Ports are destiny and infrastructure is foreign policy. Land empires without sea access pay a strategic tax. Ships move goods and guns farther, faster and cheaper. Peter knows that without an all-year route to trade in war, Russia will remain a continental target. Securing the Baltic and pushing towards warm water access were not vanity, they were the backbone of national strategy. Not everything that Peter started throughout his life was successful or was immediately accepted by the Russian population, but it is safe to say that he was the catalyst that pushed the country into modern times. If you want to know more about Peter's life and really understand the nuances in his character development, I can recommend the biography written by Robert K. Massey. For the most part, it's a really thrilling read. Chapter 3. Frederick II. Efficiency and Enlightenment. Now to 18th century Prussia, a small, scattered state in a dangerous neighborhood. Frederick inherits a lean but already disciplined army. On top, he adds something new: administrative rationality. He strengthens the bureaucracy, trims corruption, and pushes the idea that service to the state outranks status at birth. He reforms the courts and curbs torture. He invests in education and technical training, not as charity but to feed the machine of state. Frederick's economy is practical. He uses tariffs to shield infant industries. He encourages land reclamation and settlement to expand the tax base and food supply. He's a patron of the arts and talks like a philosopher. But his guiding principle is simple: the army always comes first. Everything else exists to support it. In foreign politics, Frederick is the ultimate survival strategist. He grabs Silesia to build population and industry, then survives the 7 Years' War against a coalition of great powers. Prussia does not become another France or Britain, but it becomes too costly to crush and therefore a power broker in the German lands. The deeper lesson here, once again, if you lack resources, become efficient. Design your state so that every coin and every hour of labor advance security. Frederick II, later also called Frederick the Great, is proof that a small state can punch far above its weight by eliminating slack, professionalizing administration, and keeping strategy focused. If you're curious about the history of Prussia in general, here is another reading suggestion, a very extensive scholarly book written by Christopher Clark. Chapter 4. Lee Kuan Yew. Pragmatism in a Globalized World. Our last case is modern and thus maybe more familiar. Singapore in 1965 is a small island, newly independent, with ethnic tensions, little water and no minerals. Many predicted failure. Lee Kuan Yew built a country anyway. Lee's first pillar is clean government. He empowers an independent anti-corruption agency, installs air conditioning in administrative offices to increase work efficiency, pays civil servants and ministers competitive wages to remove the temptation to steal, and prosecutes wrongdoing even at the top. Investors take notice. His second pillar is meritocracy and education. English becomes a common working language to plug into global trade, while bilingualism preserves cultural roots. Schools focus on science, math, and skills. The civil service is elite but open to talent. Lee's third pillar is housing and order. Public housing is not just shelter, it is social engineering. Mixed ethnic blocs prevent ghettos and stabilize politics. Clean streets and strict rules send a signal to investors: your capital is safe here. His fourth pillar is openness plus control. Singapore courts foreign investment, builds a world-class port and airport, and sets predictable tax and financial rules. But it also keeps the currency and banking system under prudent guard. The result is a durable hub for trade, shipping, and finance. Geopolitically, Singapore hedges and aligns. During the Cold War, it sides with the West on security while staying friendly with neighbors and later with China. It hosts multinational companies and naval visits but avoids becoming a client state. Singapore's location on the Strait of Malacca is destiny, but Lee's policy turns destiny into leverage. Singapore became the trusted node where global supply chains connect. The Common Playbook. Charlemagne standardized the civilization. Peter carved a window to the sea. Frederick engineered a machine of state. Lee turned a little red dot into a global node. Different path, same craft. Because modernization is a method, not a miracle. Strip away centuries and context and you can see the same moves. First, name the bottleneck. For Charlemagne, this was fragmentation. For Peter, isolation. For Frederick, scarcity. For Lee, corruption and resource limits. Then, centralize enough to execute. Clear authority, predictable taxes, standardized laws. At the center of it all, build state capability step by step. Schools, cadet academies, civil service exams. Import useful ideas shamelessly. From latest scholarship to military and shipbuilding techniques to global best practices. Also, make infrastructure serve strategy. Ports, canals, housing, data centers, whatever unlocks growth. With this in hand, then play the regional map. Alliances, wars, hedging. Power is always relative. Last but not least, accept trade-offs. Modernization is never free. It disrupts, it costs, and sometimes it hurts, but it works. Today, our modern challenges look different yet again. Climate risk, aging populations, AI disruption, fragile supply chains. While we have moved toward more democratic and inclusive models of governance, away from the absolute power of the past, the fundamental logic of statecraft remains. Modern leaders still require the same clarity of vision. In the 21st century, the states that master green energy, data sovereignty, and human capital will be the new hubs of power. They will do exactly what these four leaders did: identify the binding constraints, build effective institutions, and turn geography from a trap into a springboard. Building a nation isn't a miracle. It's a series of calculated moves. I hope this whirlwind ride through history gave you a new lens through which to view the world today. As my list of statesmen here is obviously not exhaustive, feel free to give other examples of transformative leaders in the comments below. I'd be really curious to identify more parallels in other eras or even regional areas. As always, thank you for watching.